I'm so happy today to be here with Poppy Chapman, and she is going to tell us her story. Poppy, welcome.
Thank you.
Let me start with asking you, has Jesus been good to you?
Jesus has been better to me than I could ever have imagined. Just doing this testimony, I could see his hand so much. I mean, I always knew, but I could see it so much more clearly over just going in a linear way through my life.
Yeah, as you've been thinking through and preparing.
Exactly,
yes. Wow.
Exactly. Yes, it's been a blessing.
Wow. So, when you were young, have you always walked with Jesus, or where does your story start?
My story starts in an orphanage.
Oh.
I was born in an orphanage in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My parents were matron and superintendent of the Odd Fellows orphanage there with 125 boys and girls. Wow. And I was born in the little infirmary there.
Wow, so you grew up among the orphans.
Well, I was the fourth of 4 children. When I was born, I had a sister that was 16, a brother that was 15, a brother that was 5. I like to think of him as the surprise. And then I was the shock.
Oh, well, it's a nice way to start life, as the shock.
As the shock.
Yes.
And we were only at the orphanage probably a couple years after I was born. My dad, he was very active in Christian Endeavor. I don't know if you've ever heard of Christian Endeavor. It's worldwide. It was very much in Pennsylvania. He was always a music leader. He loved to sing. He knew all the songs and hymns, choruses, everything. Knew a lot about Jesus, but didn't know Jesus. Isn't that strange?
It is.
Just to think that he could go and do these things. And so he had a problem with drinking. He came from a very bad childhood. He was very much abused in every way. And but one day Jesus came. Wow. And set the captive free.
Wow.
And things changed for my family. So I feel like that's the beginning of my testimony.
Yes,
was the trajectory of my family changed.
And you remember the time when he was drinking, or was
I do not.
No. So he had met the Lord even before you were old enough to remember.
Right.
Yes.
Which was good. I had to call my brother a couple times, who's my remaining sibling, to make sure I had the facts. You know? But from what I understand, he had like a Damascus Road experience.
Wow.
I don't know if
amazing.
you want to hear that or.
Well, it's wonderful. I don't know if we
have time.
If we have time, we can go back to it, because I would love to hear it.
Yes.
I loved everything. Every meeting with Jesus is beautiful.
It was amazing.
Yes.
And our lives were changed.
Wow.
But then we moved. I don't know if his drinking had something to do with it. I do remember my mom saying that when she was pregnant with me, the shock, that she felt as though if this child is born normal, if this child is normal, it'll be a miracle. And I don't know if she knew the Lord then or after Dad. I don't know. But I was fine.
Yes.
And we went on to do other things in Pennsylvania. They had other businesses that they did, but they left the orphanage.
And how was your childhood?
My mom worked with my dad. They had a dry cleaning business, and I always felt a little bit different. You know how that feeling where you feel like you're on the outside looking in a lot of times, because other children's mothers would show up at school with cookies or cupcakes or bring them to school and pick them up. And I just walked to school with my brother, and I didn't have that feeling that I was protected in a way, or that I was connected. And but other than that, when I was home, I had a little friend who was a boy, and he was same age as me, and we would just roam the hillsides. And I loved to color. Pick up brightly colored glass or stones, and I would put them in a little box and bury it, and then draw a map to it. It was my treasure, and so on.
So you have some fond memories.
I have fond memories. I came to the Lord. When I was 5 years old, there was some kind of, I don't know if it was a crusade or revival. I don't remember. But I was a very shy child. You never had to worry about losing me in the department store, because I would be holding on to your skirt, And I was listening, I know I was listening very intently to what they were saying. And when the invitation came, I knew that number one, there was a decision to be made.
Wow.
Number two, that it was now,
Wow.
and that I needed to go.
And you were only 5.
I was only 5. I knew a lot of courses from Christian
Yes.
Endeavor and Child Evangelism. I knew we used to sing Romans
Yes.
6:23, for the wages of sin is death,
Yes.
but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. And I knew a lot,
Yes.
you know. And so I had the sense that I needed to go.
But that's amazing. And also, it also reminds us to take children and their faith seriously.
That's right.
Wow,
That's right.
That's a beautiful testimony.
And I told my brother,
Yes.
you know, my big 10-year-old
Yeah.
brother then, and I whispered to him, I need to go. And evidently he told my mom and dad, and they were okay with it. And I'm, like you said, I am so glad they didn't say, oh, you're too young.
Yes.
Because that was the beginning.
Wow.
And what, I don't know, I really did get a little bit afraid after they took me to the back to some little room and started talking to me and prayed with me. And, you know, I'm not even really sure what she said.
No.
But I knew I had chosen God.
Yes.
My answer was yes.
Wow.
And as I grew and understood, it only got firmer. And that's how I started.
That's beautiful.
And that was in Pennsylvania.
Yes. And then you grew up, you become older, and how did your life turn out?
All right. Well, when I was 10, we moved to South Carolina, and my parents had a boys' home. So I was raised in a boys' home.
Oh, okay.
Born in an orphanage, raised in a boys' home. And it was wonderful. It was 3 miles back a dirt road. It was a little island off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina, where there was one paved road down the center. And we lived 3 miles back a sand or dirt road. And, you know, I had boys, you know, I could run faster, climb higher, swing farther, you know.
You were a little bit of a tomboy.
Oh, I was very much a tomboy. And I loved the outdoors. I love God's nature. Always loved God. I think that's why I majored in biology in time. But we were Baptist. We'd been Presbyterian in Pennsylvania. But I learned a lot. And then we helped start a Baptist mission. My dad helped start a little mission on the island. And because he was actually shunned by the people. We were Yankees. And I didn't realize what a Yankee was, but I was one. And the first day of school, the children, I guess their parents had talked to them, wouldn't sit near me, wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't let me sit at their lunch table. They'd call me carpetbagger and Yankee and all these things. And that was just one more feeling that something's wrong with me. Even though I knew God and I knew He loved me, I sometimes didn't know how to relate in a social situation. And but in time, they accepted me. There was a 2-room school. The first teacher taught 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, and the second teacher, my teacher, taught 5th, 6th, and 7th. And so, you know, once I was kind of accepted, and we would play softball with a rubber ball out. You know, it was fun. It was just a tiny little wooden school.
Yes.
But then it came time to leave and go to the mainland for 8th grade.
Yes.
And I was terrified that it would start all over again. And since I was very shy, I tended not to speak to people. I would keep my eyes down. And I got a reputation for being stuck up, which was, of course, the opposite of what I was.
Yes.
So if it hadn't been for knowing that God loved me, because I loved church.
Okay.
And yes, that's the thing. We always went to church. All, you know, and the first time we would go into a church with all the boys, you know, we'd have like anywhere from 15 to 17 boys in our family. You know, the congregation was like, oh my goodness, you know, we just doubled.
What is this?
Yeah, we just doubled because it'd usually be a small country church. And I loved it. And I began to date another guy that was in the church. His mother was the organist. My dad was the choir leader and, or I guess, song leader. And so we became, you know, an item.
Yes.
He was a year behind me, though. But there came a time when he felt called to the ministry during this high school period.
Yes.
And so we were at a rally. The pastor and his wife kind of mentored us, and there were like 5 of us in the youth group.
Yes.
It was small, but anyway, we went to a rally or something, and I saw Mickey go down, and I knew what he was going down for.
Yes,
for the invitation, and I heard the Lord say, "Well, what about you? If you're going to be part of this, are you going to participate with the whole heart, or are you going to drag your feet and make it difficult for him?" And so I went forward. Yes, Lord, I'll be a pastor's wife if that's what you call me to be. I mean, you know. So Mickey and I didn't get married. I went on to college, and I kind of lost touch with him actually, because somewhere along the line, the pastor and his wife decided it'd probably be good if we dated other people.
Okay.
And actually, I didn't take that well, as I was. I don't know why. I'm afraid of rejection. I don't know what it was, but I gave him his ring back. And I said, "Fine."
Okay.
So shall we date other people? So through college, I met. I was still very shy. I was majoring in medical technology.
Okay.
And I was going to, that was fine. But the group I was in, we came to the point where we were going to do like an internship at the hospital, and I could not see myself with that group of people. They drank, they danced, things. I thought, how am I going to ever room with these people? I'm going to be ostracized. I always had a great fear of that. And so I changed my major to just biology. Like, well, what can you do with just a degree in biology? But so that's what I had. And a friend that was a roommate asked me if I would go to Clemson University because she was going to date a boy, but they needed a date for his roommate. Oh. And I don't know, God must have talked to me or something, but I said, okay.
Yeah. Out of character.
Out of character, totally. And, Clemson was a big university, and I went to Lander College. Of course, now it's Lander University, but it was quite a scary thing. But I went, and the boy that I was to be with was very homesick for Ohio and his girlfriend there. And we barely talked. But there was a guy around on the periphery of the group that was a friend of those in the group named Charlie. And Charlie and I hit it off just great.
Oh, that's great.
So the next time I went back to Clemson, it was at his bidding. And one of the first things we talked about, are you a Christian? Yes, yes, yes. So we were going to go to church, and, that was all very good. And again, it was Baptist. I think I went to some Methodist churches. In time, I graduated first, and I worked for a year. He bought a car, and I got to use it because we were trying to save. He was going to be a naval officer in the Supply Corps. So, no clue of being a pastor at that juncture. And we got married. We went to officer candidate school in Rhode Island, went to Supply Corps school in Georgia, came back. He went on a 6-month cruise. My sister stayed with me then. Okay. Some of the precious times, because it wasn't much later she took her life. Oh. And so anyway, God, I loved church. I loved anything to do with the Bible, the scriptures, God, hymns, choruses. I was just full of that. But once we got into the Navy, and Charlie turned to have a drinking problem. Oh. And he started really drinking quite a bit. And they, they serve alcohol constantly. Oh. I mean, in the wardroom, you have a glass of wine. In the, at any kind of a social gathering, all the officers would gather, they had whatever you wanted, an open bar. It was just suited Charlie really well, because I didn't realize that we were probably child calling child. Have you ever heard that expression when we met? It was like we were both broken, that somehow that connection was there. His parents had just divorced, and he was struggling with a lot of internal things. One of them being gay. Oh. I have to say, he did talk to me briefly when we were engaged, that he maybe had that. The same-sex attraction. Yes, same-sex attraction. He had a draw there, but he did not want to go that way. And I said, do you love me? Yes. And he said, yes. He said, I want to be married. I want to have a family. Yes. I want to go, I want to be in church. I want to, And so we married. Yes. That was before then all the going to officer candidate school and all that. We were married when we did that. Eventually, we went to California. He was chosen for a degree in postgraduate school, the Navy postgraduate school in Monterey, California. Beautiful, beautiful place. So we were on our way with all our little possessions and what we had. And we got to the Grand Canyon. And he proceeded, I know he was scared to death.
Oh.
He proceeded to get just soused, just totally drunk.
Oh.
And I was very frightened. Every day we would get in the car and home would be behind us, and
Yes.
we'd drive and we'd drive and we'd drive and home. We just got farther away from home, and I was he was all I had.
Yes.
And when he did that, I felt so alone. And I called out to God. I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And so it was kind of an awkward ride from there to Monterey.
Yes.
I'm not proud to say that I did think, well, if you're going to be knocked out, I'm going to be knocked out too. And I did. I drank whatever else he was drinking. And which I never had a problem with drinking. But anyway, so we got to Monterey. And he was top of his class. I mean, he did well. God blessed him so much. But when we first got there, we were both very scared, very lonely, very empty. I always liken it to taking a plant out of one pot and putting it in another, and it just looks lost.
Yes.
Oh my God, I have to cough a minute.
Oh, yes.
Excuse me. And so we were eating, and neither one of us were really eating. We were just at a little diner somewhere just looking at the food. And I said, we need to find a church. And he said, yes, we need to find a church. So we did. And it was, I think, a conservative Baptist church. And the people there, God bless them. God bless them. God used them. God rescued me. I mean, he really rescued me, because I felt like I was going down for the third time. Wow. And there was a group of them who some of them had gone to Naval Postgraduate School. So there were people that Charlie respected. Wow. And they asked us to join them. The very first Sunday we went to go out to lunch with them. And as it would be, the place we went to lunch was offering a free glass of champagne with your meal. Of course, we weren't paying for it. They treated us. I was just blessed. And so they started with the person left of Charlie, and the person said, no, thank you. And the next person, no, thank you. Thanks, no. Thanks, no. No, thank you, no. And there were about 6 of them, maybe 3 couples. And I said, no, thank you. And Charlie he'd been looking forward to that. Oh, yes. And he heard himself say, no, thank you. And when we got home, he said, wow, I never knew that I could say no and be okay. Wow. And that there were other people that didn't drink and seemed fine. Because in the military, it's like if you didn't drink, what's wrong with you kind of thing.
And it's so interesting also that these people said no, and how much that can impact the decisions we make. Yes. And especially when it comes to alcohol, that we can help someone stumble or not stumble, depending on, I might not have the problem, but the thing I do might actually make or break someone else.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
Yes. So God's mercy, God's grace and mercy. And, I began to come out of my shell a little bit by then, because he'd stopped drinking. And, we sang in the choir, and, I enjoyed church. As I said, I always did. I taught a children's class. And, it was a good time.
Good period.
Good period. It was only like 15 months. Yes. But God gave us the cutest little house, the cutest little cottage, because he knew I know he knew I needed that. Yes. My surroundings are very important to me. Okay. And it had like the guy who owned it was a carpenter, and he had made all kind of little extra nooks and it was just awesome. And it was up on a hill, and you look down at the blue bay in Monterey. It's just like
sounds wonderful.
Yes. So all was well. We were trying to have a family, and I did get pregnant finally the last of our time there, and they gave me a shower, and it was awesome. And but somehow Charlie was always afraid. We went from there back to Pennsylvania, which is strange. My daughter was born in Pennsylvania, which was my birthplace. And he started to drink again because he said, I don't know how to do my job here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. He didn't feel like he had any clear training for what the position he was put in. And I remember one time going up the stairs. We were like in base housing, but it was a little duplex kind of, or a townhouse kind of thing. And I was probably 8 months pregnant. And I was going up the stairs, and I fell on my knees, and I said, God, I am helpless. This baby is helpless. Yes. And if you don't help us, I don't know what's going to happen. And it wasn't long. Charlie came home and he said, I need to stop drinking again.
Wow.
And he went and talked to our pastor. Because by then, of course, we had joined another little church. And he went to AA for a little while. And he changed. He changed. He changed again, back to the man that I thought I had married, you know. And strangely enough, he felt called to the ministry.
Wow.
So we went to Okinawa. We had that baby there, and we stayed there for, I think, about two more years. And then we went to Okinawa. I was pregnant with our second child. Our second child was born on Okinawa. And he began to, not only was he supply officer, but he was taught for the University of Maryland, and and we were very active in the church. He could take God's word, Emelie, and just really make it come alive.
Wow! So God had really given him a gift.
Yes, yes. Wow. He could teach whatever, whether it was computers or the Bible, whatever. He was very passionate.
He was a teacher.
He was a teacher. Exactly. Wow. That's exactly right. And he taught a Sunday school class at the Central Baptist Church there. And I'll never forget the time the kenosis, when Christ left heaven. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the class. Wow. I mean, it was so amazing to see what what Christ had done. The Father and the Son. Yes. People think, well, Christ did. Yes, but the Father gave him up.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, that was good. That was good. We would have these single GIs over a lot of times, and it was pure with Charlie then. Yes. He was really walking with the Lord. He would invite several of the guys maybe under him. So if you come to church with us, we'll take you home for a home cooked dinner. And so I would either make chili or spaghetti. That's pretty much standby. Because you're going to church, so you can't be cooking anything too much when you get home. They're all hungry. And I remember sitting around the table, and we'd eat, and we had the two little ones, one like 1-year-old and one 2-year-old. And then they would go away from the table back to the living room and have a Bible study, which was awesome. Yes. I mean, that's what those guys needed. They were so lonely. They so needed Jesus. And several of them came to the Lord through that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I would be in the kitchen. Of course, there was no dishwasher. And
you were left with...
I had 2 little ones to get down, the table to clear off, the dishes to do, all of that. And one day,
the less great part of serving the Lord.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I said to the Lord, I said, I know it's really important that those guys hear your word. Yes. And I want to do this. And God, I heard a voice as clear as day say, no, you don't.
God knows you better than you know yourself.
And I said, but I want to.
Yes.
And do you know that broke off of me like that?
Wow.
It did. I said, thank you, Lord. He met me where I was. Yes. If I was honest with him and with myself, he met me there.
Oh, it's so beautiful that he can stand that we're honest. He knows us anyway.
That's right. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. That's so beautiful. For the rest of the time, I really did. It was wonderful. On Okinawa, it was wonderful. So we went from Okinawa to Texas, where he went to Dallas Theological Seminary.
Oh, okay.
And you're probably familiar with all their stands. And he did 2 years, I think, and he was disillusioned with it because to him, the love didn't seem to be there. It was more like the Bible was a textbook, and he, I didn't do well in Greek, and he was smart, but it just he found it very dry and unrewarding in a way, and he wanted so passionately to minister and be active in that. So I think he did 2 or 3 years, and he got a call to a little church in South Lake, and so we moved to South Lake. Our kids by that time were in elementary school. And so I was a pastor's wife. And I loved it. Oh, I loved it. I loved visiting the sick. I loved going to the hospital. I loved teaching Bible studies. Yes. And in fact, it's funny because our church was small. Maybe 30, 35 people on a Sunday morning. So we would have a Bible study, but I would also go sometimes to the Methodist church. They had it on a Tuesday Bible study, and I would sometimes lead. But they took turns kind of, and I loved it. Wow. And my very best friend today, I got the privilege of leading to the Lord.
Wow.
I kept trying to get her to come to the Tuesday Bible study there in the Methodist Church, and and then finally one day she said, "Okay." I said, well, she said, and then let's go to lunch. And another friend down the street that I prayed with, we prayed for our children together. She was there too. Wow. So she was surrounded by her neighbors. And I remember she had no clue about the Bible. I mean, where the books were or anything. She'd been raised Catholic. And so I made her a little chart because, a lot of the indices are... They're not in alphabetical order. They're in the order they come. At least her Bible was. And so to look something up was very embarrassing for her. So I made her a little chart and all this, and she still has that to this day.
Wow, that's very cute. That's so thoughtful of you. Well, helping her not to be shamed.
Yes. And she grew, and she's faced a lot of things since then too. But she's. I meet with them once a week. There are 4 of us.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
And we meet, we're a prayer group. Emmaus, we went on Emmaus walks. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. But anyway, all was well.
Yes.
It was well with my soul. And somehow Charlie got disenchanted with DeVry. He was working for DeVry at that time, part-time. He was just, the church couldn't pay him, but maybe $600 a month or some small stipend, and we lived in the parsonage. So he had to work to provide. So he he was a professor at DeVry, and he got disenchanted somehow. It was like, he said that, they either sat telling you, beef it up, or they're not, our students aren't competitive, or water it down, they can't handle it, and so on. And he got disillusioned. And he stopped that job, and he got offered a job at Dallas Theological Seminary with their computers. Well, that was very close to gay bars and things. Oh. And one time I think he was doing a wedding, and they had an alcoholic punch, and he said he didn't realize it was. Oh. But he took some, and he was off to the races. Oh, when you're you can't.
Oh, it takes that little.
Just that little. And he was, and then when that happened, then it let everything else out,
Yes.
and let him, and then he was, so by that time, before that happened, he had, with another pastor of another smaller church that actually our church was a splinter from, the 2 churches joined back together and reconciled. And that was great, and he pastored that probably a year. But he was struggling. Oh. I didn't know how deeply he was struggling. Wow. I guess God protected me from that. I don't know. He would ride his bike, and he was quite a biker. He would ride 30 miles a day. Oh. But later on in time, he said he would just ride to a park and get a 6-pack of beer, drink it, and come back. When he came back home, I wouldn't know the difference. I thought he'd been out bike riding.
So he was both struggling with the alcohol and with the temptation of the same-sex attraction relationship.
Yes. He was tormented.
Oh, poor fellow.
And I had great compassion for him, great compassion. But one day he was on the telephone in the office, and so many times when he would be in there preparing for messages, come listen to this, look at this, But this time I heard him on the phone, and I thought, sounds different. And sometimes I would try to overhear because I wanted to know if there was something in the church going on, And I heard him, and I knew that it was going to be a rendezvous. Oh. And that it was with a man. Oh, man. And do you know how those moments in life where your life is forever changed?
Yes.
And there's no going back.
And that moments are frozen in your memory.
Yes. And my heart just hit the floor. When he walked out, I was, of course, in tears. Yes. And I said, you were talking to a guy. You're going to meet a guy, aren't you? Oh. And he started crying. Mm. And we cried together. Mm. And I said, I can't stay with you. No. I can't be married to you. I mean, this is not... But then I couldn't leave him. No. It was a very dark time. It was the beginning of a very dark time. For both of us.
Yes, of course.
And the kids were teenagers, young teenagers. They'd been sheltered. They'd been the pastor's kids, everything good, And so in time, he resigned. He had a breakdown. He couldn't, he got to where he couldn't. The church didn't know. Okay. And who was I going to talk to?
Yes, of course. You were all alone.
And who was he going to talk to? Mm. And so I love that there's not the elders, but what's above those here in this church.
Presbyters?
Yeah, presbyters. I love that there's that.
Yes.
There
is, in this church, there is someone you can reach out to.
Exactly.
And that is very healthy.
Oh my goodness, very healthy. We didn't have that.
Oh, yes.
And so he resigned the pastorate and we moved into a little apartment, big enough for the kids too.
Yes.
And I lost down to like 93 pounds.
Oh man.
I was so broken.
Yes. And did your children know about the reason for him resigning, or?
I think they're bound to have surmised some things.
Yes.
And as Charlie got really bad in some of it, he would actually come on to some of Jennifer's dates.
Oh.
And then, he would tell our daughter, Jennifer, said, well, your mom spoils my fun. She won't let me go out with the guys.
Oh,
well, I knew what that meant.
Yes,
but at the time she didn't. And he kind of worked her and drove a little wedge between us. And it broke my heart.
Yes, of course.
And then Jason, our youngest, as he was just on his own. He went to LD Bell, but I don't know how he ate. I don't know how he got to school, how he got home, because I couldn't function.
No, of course. You couldn't even take care of yourself. How could you take care of the children?
Exactly.
Oh.
I had nothing. And yet I still knew God, but I couldn't seem to take comfort from my faith. It was as though I didn't realize, but I think Charlie had become something in between me and God.
I see. And when that fell, everything fell.
Everything fell.
Yes.
And it took God's mercy and grace to bring me back to where I could really be full of joy again.
Yes, I understand.
I remember we went one time to a Baptist church in the vicinity, and I was crying. And do you know, not one person offered me a Kleenex, offered to pray with me, put an arm around me, touched my shoulder. They just looked at me like, what is wrong with you?
Oh,
don't bring that over here.
Wow.
And the same with him. One time we went to talk to a pastor about his situation, and it was like a deer in the headlights, don't bring that in here. I don't know what to do with that.
Oh, really? Yes. So you tried to reach out.
Yes. Oh, yes.
But there was no help.
Yes, right.
Oh,
and he did, I have to say, he did find something called Living Hope Ministries. And, but he was so far into it by then. His brain was just wired.
Yes. And he gave into it somehow.
He gave into it.
I understand.
And later on, I came to understand that he would pray, God, take this away from me. But in parentheses after that, so I don't have to give it up.
Oh, because part of him hated it and part of him wanted it.
Yes. And when he chose the wrong thing.
Yes.
And eventually we started going to a church called Restoration Church. And it was charismatic. It was my first time to be in a charismatic church. And the people there, when you cried, they hugged you, and it was wonderful. And so in time, I would call the church sometime, and then I worked. It wasn't like I was doing just sitting. I knew I needed to do something, and I was telemarketing. That was all I knew.
Yeah.
I could only handle that. And it was for a Catholic company that made, actually, their freelance Disney cartoon people made their videos on the lives of the saints for children.
Yes.
And so it was a pretty wholesome environment. I'd been in one that wasn't wholesome, and I was like, oh my. So, but anyway, I was doing that, and I could just barely do that and creep home and give what little money I made to the kids for whatever they needed. And Charlie was working, to his credit. I mean, he did. He just, and I don't think at that point, I think he stopped, because he was hospitalized. I think I forgot that one. Yeah. When he had his breakdown, he was hospitalized.
Okay.
And so, I'm sorry. He stopped drinking. He stopped everything, as far as I know. But we were still living in this apartment. Yes. Jennifer, by this time, was really having a struggle. And my brother's a pastor, the one that's 5 years older. And I asked him if he would take Jennifer.
Wow.
Because I said she needs stability, and we don't have it. In fact, one time Charlie threw her out of the apartment. Wow. Because she was telling him she's tired of him being depressed. And so he called me at work and said, well, I threw Jennifer out. And I was like, I'm at work,
Oh, what can you do?
So when I got home, I tried to call everywhere to find. I didn't know her friends so well there. I finally found her, and I talked. She came home, and I said, "Would you like to go live with your cousin Bethany, who's her age?" My brother had a daughter that was Jennifer's age, and my brother had said yes. And she said, "Yes, I think I better. I don't think I'm making good choices." So she went to South Carolina. Broke my heart.
Of course.
And as I said, Jason he just grew up. I don't know. It's all.
It just happened.
Yes. But God had his hand on Jason.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And
so that was a really dark pit.
Dark.
And I mean, we know that God never abandons us,
right.
But sometimes it can feel like that.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
That's why it's so important to pray for people that are hurting.
Yes.
Because they may not even know how to pray at that point, how to feel the connection.
No, exactly.
So anyway, one day, Charlie brought a paper home from the recycling bin. We couldn't afford the paper, so he brought one home from the recycling bin at work. And I never looked. The want ads were so dehumanizing, so demoralizing when I look at them. Wanted for this, wanted for that, computer programmer, a salesperson, mechanic, you name it, secretary. I knew none of that.
Oh.
I have a degree in biology.
Yes.
And so something just said, look at the want ads. Well, I know something. Someone.
Yes.
Someone.
Yes. Sometimes it's easier to see that when you look behind, in the rear view mirror.
Exactly. So I opened the want ads, and the very first thing I looked at said, if you have a degree in a life science, call Parkland Hospital.
Yes.
To hear about their respiratory care program. I knew nothing about. I didn't know respiratory care existed, of course. I kept reading that. If you have a degree in a life science, biology, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. But you had to go to Dallas, to the county hospital, to Parkland. I was barely able to get out of bed and crawl down the road to that little telemarketing thing, And I was still like in 93 pounds or something. And I read it out loud to Charlie, and to his credit, he said, this might be God. He said, you better go. So I went, shaking, every mile shaking. Wow. Found a place to park, shaking. Went into that auditorium, found it. Looked like, I know there were about probably 300 people, because this was the Dallas Morning News back in the day when people read the Dallas Morning News. There were about 300 people in there coming to hear about this program. They were going to pay a small stipend, pay all your expenses, and you would just work for them for a year after. So you
That's
had a
quite attractive.
Job. Yes, very attractive. And I thought, wow, they were going to choose 10.
10 out of 300. Ooh.
So they said, if you're still interested, come back next weekend and take the Applied Health Aptitude Test. So I went home thinking, there's no point. Those kids, a lot of them, I was like in my 40s, and a lot of them were like fresh out of school. They looked so confident, and I thought, why would I go back?
Yes.
And Charlie said, might be God.
Yes.
Might be God.
And God can do miracles.
Praise God.
Yes.
I went. I kept saying yes to God. I went back and I was taking the test, and I thought, I remember more of this than I thought. I always liked English. In fact, I have a BA in biology.
Okay, yeah.
Because I like the arts too. And I was one of the 25 they were going to interview.
Wow.
And there weren't quite as many that came back the second time, but there were still quite a few. I mean, because it is a very attractive program.
Yes, of course.
And so I thought, now they're going to see I'm old and, I'm probably not going to be chosen, but at least I've made the interview. So I kept trying to think, pluses to my age. I won't be out with maternity leave. I won't have a sick child at home. I won't, and I told them, I said, my husband was a pastor and I have a heart for people.
Yes.
Well, I think the lady that interviewed me was a Christian.
Ah.
And that must have struck her heart.
Wow.
God,
God can use anything.
That very thing. And so I was chosen as one of the 10.
Wow, that's a miracle.
Yes, very much a miracle.
Wow.
And because I had told God, I said, you'll never be able to restore the years the locusts have eaten.
No.
It's too much. It's too much, God. So anyway, well, then began the real trepidation also, because they were going to put us through in 1 year what was a 2-year course.
Oh, wow.
We were going to take closed book tests that were meant to take open book.
Wow.
I went home and they emphasized. I said, if you're not in a good emotional state, this probably is not.
And you were not.
Rethink that. I was not.
No.
You maybe need to rethink this, because once we start, you need to really commit and see. It's going to be intense. So I went home and I prayed, and I told Charlie, and he said, "Do it." So I turned in my resignation at the little
telemarketing,
telemarketing, and went started, and it was very intense. And I remember at times calling suicide hotline.
Wow. It was that intense. It was that hard.
That it was. Well, and I was so afraid.
Yes.
I was so afraid. What if I felt like I went through on one neuron. You know what I mean? I would, when I went to study, I would say, God, please just have the anxiety. Leave me long enough that I can read this and grasp it and remember it, please.
Oh, man.
That's how it was.
Wow.
Test by test. Or actually assignment by assignment. We always had a lot of assignments, papers, things to do, or papers to write. And I said, God, please just let me feel calm enough to do this today. It was one day at a time.
Wow.
It really was. And but at times I was panicky.
And
I remember calling Restoration Church one time for prayer. They had like a prayer ministry team, and they said, well, I don't think we can get you in next week, but maybe the week after. And I was thinking, I'll be dead by then.
Oh, I see. Oh,
I was desperate.
Yes.
And that's why I would call sometimes. I just had to hear a human voice.
Yes.
And I wish I could have had somebody pray with me. I don't remember why. Maybe there was no one that I thought. You didn't have I don't know that we had cell phones. And this was in 91.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Or 93. 93 I started. So yes, I was in bad shape. But each day I grew stronger. Each test that I passed, and that he was faithful. And I would pass the test, and I would pass the test, and I would pass the test.
Maybe God used that also to restore your self-confidence.
Yes.
And things.
I know.
That's
He was
so
redeeming.
Wow.
He was redeeming me.
Wow.
And so then it came time for the registry. You have to register the respiratory therapist. I was really scared for that too. And I would just say, God, please help me. And I know he must have just been on my shoulder telling, it was like I passed the registry the first time.
Wow.
And then after that came another scary part.
Okay.
Because then I had to start working.
Oh, yes.
So you're in a hospital and somebody says, we need an RT over here. I was in the intensive care unit. I probably belonged in the intensive care unit, maybe on the psych ward. But, he gave me a wonderful mentor, a man that was a big guy, didn't know the Lord. Later, I would try to witness to him, and he would always agree there was a God that he couldn't get past. Why would God let bad things happen to children and so on? And he wouldn't stick around long enough for me to. We were in the break room. It was break time.
Yeah. People want easy answers to complicated questions.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And I had answers that I knew because I loved apologetics. I've always loved apologetics. But anyway, so he took care of me. Anytime he could see I was, like a code or whatever.
Yes.
If I needed help, he was there. I'll get the vent, Poppy. You go get the vent, Poppy. And one time, I'll remember in particular, my sister shot herself in the head. That's self-inflicted. I had a patient that was a lady that was a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. And I got to that room, and I'd set up the vent, and the patient, they came rolling in, and I froze.
Yes.
And praise God. He can move whether you believe or not.
Oh, yes.
Came up behind me, and he said, Poppy, go to the break room. I'll take care of this.
Wow.
So I went. And
wow, God sent people there for you. That's so beautiful.
He did. And so later, Jackie came in, and he said, you can't fall apart like that.
No.
I said, I know. I said that just was the first time, and I told he may have known that about my sister. I can't remember, but I told him. And after that, God gave me the strength to separate myself emotionally. Oh, in fact, even now, sometimes it's hard for me to cry, even when I feel something very deeply. I feel it deeply, but I've learned, I think it's almost just programmed a little bit in that, I don't cry.
No.
So if ever you see a time when I wish sometimes that I could cry.
Yes.
Because I think it would be cathartic, and I think maybe it would show something, to the person that's telling maybe something that's very sad and difficult. And I have great compassion, but
you don't show it that way. But
I don't show it that way.
The Lord can come over you, the Holy Spirit, and you can cry. We'll see. See what happens in the future.
That's right. That's exactly right. We're not done yet, right?
No, exactly. And I mean, a soft heart doesn't need to come out in tears.
Right.
No.
That's right.
Yes.
And trying to think what happened after that. I just grew stronger. And in time, I was a lead therapist at Parkland, and I precepted people, and and my confidence, God redeemed everything.
Wow, so God strengthened you, but at the same time, was there still problem at home, or what happened?
So at home, we had by this time left the apartment because I had an income now, and Charlie we were anxious to get a house, and we got a little house in Bedford, and it was good times. He went back to DeVry, and we had some really good times. And one time I do know, he did start drinking again, and I don't know what triggered it. I don't know. He had a hard time with our son. He was attracted to our son, and then he would back off and not show any affection. Jason had a hard time.
Yes.
And I think that was another conflict he couldn't handle very well.
No.
And
alcohol became his outlet.
Yes.
Oh, I understand.
Even though he knew the Lord.
Yes.
So again, and I always told him, as long as you're willing to try, I'm willing to be with you.
Wow.
And forgive you, and whatever. I mean, he was unfaithful probably hundreds of times.
Wow.
And but he would come back and cry, and so.
And God must have given you the ability to forgive and give another chance.
Yes. And the same with my father.
Yes.
My father had stepped over the line with me, and I could separate. I loved my father, and yet I knew he had this problem. I seemed to grasp that verse, for all have sinned and come short.
And also that you can love a certain part of a person, while they have other parts that you cannot stand, that they're very hurtful, that it's so complex.
Yes.
So I guess it was parts of Charlie that you still loved, and even though
absolutely.
I understand.
Absolutely. And I prayed for him, and we tried. And so in time, though, we moved into the house we're in now, a nice big 2-story home, a beautiful home God gave us. And we were happy for probably 6 months. I don't remember. But he stopped drinking again, I think. He started AA. Back that time, back when we were still in the little house. I came home from work one day, and he was drunk on the couch. And he would say, I was trying to wake him. And I said, what happened? And he said, they got me. They got you. I thought maybe he lost his job at DeVry. So I called one of the other professors, and I asked her, and she said, no, not that I know of. He didn't lose his job. And so then he started AA. And he got a good sponsor, and he started working the steps.
Okay.
And you know what? That's very powerful. If your higher power is God, is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Those steps are life-changing.
Wow.
They really are. The first is I'm powerless. Then came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Made a decision to turn my will and my life over to him.
Wow.
So on.
Yes.
And he did well. We moved into the big house. I don't know how this all started again, but he was struggling with that same-sex attraction. And he would tell me, I don't know why. And that's when I think one time he said, I asked God to take it away. And then,
he didn't want to.
Yeah. So he found someone that he wanted to spend his life with.
Okay.
And that person would come to the house, and I didn't know. I thought they were friends. And I came to realize they were more than friends. And I said, I can't live like this.
No.
I can't live in a 3-way marriage.
No.
And so we divorced. And I didn't want that.
No.
I wanted the testimony of people who've been married 60 years.
Of course.
And so we divorced, and he went and he stayed with this man. He was from Malaysia. He was a little guy from Malaysia. And I think they were were together, and things went well for a while for him. And I always was concerned. In fact, I did some crazy things during that time. I liked Richard. Sutek was really his name, but because I thought he really cared, and he did care about Charlie, and he wouldn't hurt Charlie. Because an older man with that same-sex attraction, a lot of times is used up and thrown in the trash, more or less. Okay. I didn't want that for him.
You really cared about him.
I really cared about him. And I knew the Lord cared about him.
Yes.
And I knew what he could have been. That's the tragedy. When we choose no, there's a tragedy.
Yes.
And anyway, they were together quite a while. In the meantime, back at the ranch, I was in the house, and I knew I needed some roommates because I couldn't afford.
No, of course.
I made a decent salary, but so I'd been praying about having a home that would be a ministry to people, other broken people maybe that they couldn't afford much.
Yes, of course.
And because I always felt like when we were so broken in the apartment, had we been able maybe to go into it, someone would have taken us into their home and helped us
and walked with you and
with us. Yes, and taken the worry of the common day problems. And so I thought, I'm going to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, and I felt like God called me to do that. So the first person, her name was Beth, and she was going through a divorce that she didn't want to go through either. And she was broken. Wow. She had her PhD in economy. She was an economist. She teaches at SMU. And she and I started praying together. We'd have our Bible study. We prayed for our next roommate because I had 2 bedrooms upstairs and I was downstairs. Another friend who, to this day, I'm close to both of them, came. She was going through a hard time. She was younger than we were, but actually I met her in Al-Anon. I don't know if you know about Al-Anon's a good program. If your higher power is Jesus Christ. If it's at the doorknob, no. So anyway, she came and we had the sweetest time.
Wow.
And I was single a year, and I was planning to stay single. I was like, just because he can't keep his vows, God, doesn't mean I can't keep mine. And I remember God wouldn't leave me alone. I kept hearing, but what if I want you to partner with someone in ministry? Well, I didn't know how to go about that.
No.
But these Yahoo personals kept popping up. Maybe I never noticed them before, but it was like, just wouldn't stop.
Wow.
And I thought, God, is this you? And I've kind of heard that God doesn't steer a parked car, So I said, okay, God, I'm going to do this. And if it's you, block it. And if it's not you, block it. If it is you,
bless it.
Bless it.
Bless it or block it.
That's exactly right. And I said, whoever I would ever marry again is going to have to be my spiritual head. I can't do this again, if he called me to, he would have quit me to.
Yes.
But I didn't want to.
No.
And so there were 2 men that gave, my testimony was very strong. So I think there was one guy one time that talked about, we could go to Europe and I was like, no, that's not.
No.
And but there were 2 that had strong testimonies. Roy was one, and then there was another. And the other must have been dating someone or something. I never heard back from him till later. Later, he did respond. I'm like, I'm too late. But Roy responded. And what I didn't realize, he had been inactive for like a year. And he was divorced too. The deep end, people go off the deep end. His wife went off the deep end. And he didn't want to be divorced either, but he was.
Yes.
She was unfaithful on different things.
Yes.
But anyway, where was I?
Well, you went online and you met Roy.
Yes. So Roy spoke back. And we started texting back and forth. And
it was like a Christian dating app or something?
No, it wasn't Christian.
Oh, no.
It was earlier than that. There was not like some of these Christian ones.
No.
I wish there had been.
Yes.
It was just Yahoo.
Wow.
But God used it.
Wow.
He
can use anything.
He can
use anything.
So finally we decided we would meet.
Yes.
And we met at Italiani's, a restaurant near us. And all we did was talk about the Lord.
Wow.
And we dated for quite a while. I wanted to meet some of his friends,
yes.
To make sure this guy was all he. I met his personal intercessor and her
Wow,
husband, and
yes.
we, and we're still very close friends with her. Just he had his friends. He had wonderful friends, other pastors, and Pastor Parkey and Rhonda.
You did your research.
I did my research.
Yes,
exactly.
and I understand why. I mean, hearing your story, of course, you didn't want to end up, in something similar.
No, because people can pretend.
Yes,
they
exactly.
What is that term? Love bomb?
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard of that, and some people that have gone that they're all this at first, and then they turn.
Yes.
And I wanted to see he was consistent. So anyway, we married. I think we started talking in September, and we married that May, the next May. And so, he was working at TSA. He was a trainer for TSA. So he wasn't a pastor, but he'd been a pastor.
Okay.
And during about probably a year into our marriage, God called him back into the pastorate.
Wow.
And called him here.
That's
and
beautiful.
Pastor Parkey did our premarital. Actually, back up a little bit. He did our premarital, and Roy told me everything he was going to ask us. Because he said I trained him. And so I was ready for the things. One of the hard questions is what are you going to do when you're at butting heads? When the other person you're at loggerheads. And I said, well, pray.
Yes.
You pray. And I've always heard, I've learned the term, keep your side of the bridge down, and your side of the street clean.
Okay, yes. That's good.
And very seldom did Roy and I have intense fellowship.
No.
We always call it intense fellowship.
Yeah.
But we were married, and he pastored under Pastor Parkey for a while here. And we started teaching Re-Engage. I loved it. I love this church. I love these people.
Wow. So God restored you.
He restored me. And I say today, what locusts?
Wow.
What locusts?
Wow. Yes.
That's my testimony.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man, he can take every mess and make sense. He can make beauty out of ashes.
Absolutely he can.
He can turn the worthless into something beautiful.
Yes.
And man, he has really shown in your life that he can reach you when you're at the bottom, and he can put you back together again, and he can restore you.
Yes. And then it's a testimony, and then it's a ministry.
Yes.
Because I welcome anyone that's struggling, that needs someone to pray with them or just to listen. Not that I have the answers, but I know who does.
Exactly.
And later on, Charlie took his life. And it was very sad for my children.
Of course. Yes, of course.
But anyway.
And I think it's beautiful to see how you have stayed faithful in this situation. Even though you were faithlessness were shown towards you, you stayed faithful. And you kept loving even, when the actions could have caused another response in you. Somehow God's love through you, made it possible.
That's right.
And then when it came to an end, when it couldn't go any further, God gave you the strength to move on. I think it's beautiful.
He did.
Yes.
He carried me. Yeah.
But I also hear in your story, we can learn from your story what the church needs to be.
Absolutely.
The church needs to be a loving and caring environment. We need to see one another, and we need to really help, meet each other's needs.
That's right.
Yes.
We need to be God's hands and whatever is required, His heart.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Is there any last words of wisdom that you would like to pass on?
Oh man, just that. Stay faithful.
Yes.
Because God is faithful.
Yes.
And when you can't sense it and you can't feel it, He's still there.
Yes.
He's still guiding.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing. He will restore.
Yes.
He is the Redeemer.
Yes.
He is the lover of our souls. Don't shut Him out.
No. And when you were in the darkest pit, He could reach you.
He could reach me.
Yes.
And He lifted me up.
Oh, that's beautiful. God bless you. Thank you for sharing your testimony.
Thank you.